Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of My Favorite Builds. Today we're going to be looking at a physical spear Amazon. I know, it's not exactly the one that everybody looks at. The lightning one is the one everybody wants to look at, right? That's the one everybody's interested in. Well, when I was younger, I always wanted to make a melee Amazon, and you never freaking could. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Before Diablo 2 Resurrected, it was impossible to make a melee Amazon. You could not do it. The problem lied in the fact that, well, melee Amazons, well, just in general, Amazons don't have good defense. And also, the dodge, avoid, and evades were absolutely terrible in terms of helping you do things, because they would actually cancel out your melee attacks and cause even more stress than you otherwise needed. But let's go over Jouster, and let's talk about how I set Jouster up and why. So first off, the weapon, Breath of the Dying Ghost Spear. That is the main weapon that she utilizes, and she has a particularly nice one too, with a roll of 366%. Breath of the Dying, made in an ethereal ghost spear, seems to be the best physical damage that you can possibly get, in combination with the speed that you would want. And not only is it ethereal and indestructible, with massive amounts of damage, it also has 60% increased attack speed, lifesteal, mana leech, prevent monster heal, all attributes 30, and in general is just a ridiculously awesome weapon. With a top damage of 1081, this thing hits like a freaking literal Mack truck. I'm utilizing G-Face with a 15% IAS jewel in it, as well as 7 minimum damage on that jewel. That was a pretty nice one. Atmoscarab for the amplify damage. I really like having the amp strike on this particular build, although there's other ways that you can do things too. Like, for instance, you can have Lawbringer on your Merc for Decrepify on striking, or you could also maybe go with Reaper's Toll on a Mercenary. I think in this particular case, I just set up this Merc, like willy-nilly. I don't really think the Mercenary that you choose on this one really has a lot to do with things. Having Decrepify is definitely nice. Having Amplify Damage is definitely nice. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be dishing out the majority of the physical damage, which is going to be pretty insane. We also have Fortitude here for the additional 300% enhanced, which is pretty massive. We are using Gore Riders specifically for the additional crushing blow, as well as the open wounds, which we want to have at least 10% chance of open wounds. We have Raven Frost, of course, because cannot be frozen, and lots of attack rating. We're using Nosferatu's Coil to hit a specific breakpoint with IAS. The reason why I didn't go with, say, High Lords here instead is because, well, she already has massive amounts of critical strike, and she doesn't need the deadly strike. So I figured that Atmas would be better here, especially since she's a highly physical damage character, to have access to amplify damage. Nosferatu's Coil also has a nice amount of life leech, slows target by 15 strength, which also lowers my strength requirements, which is nice. And then on top of that, I ended up with a pretty decent AR life leech ring, which is pretty much all you need, because honestly, the life leech and mana leech on Breath of the Dying is more than enough. And then combined with the life leech that's on Nosferatu's Coil, I mean, I probably could have gone with a mana leech ring here, or I could have gone with something else entirely. I don't know. I also ended up with a nice pair of +2 Javelin, 20% increased attack speed gloves, although you could also go with Laying of Hands would be a decent choice as well for the 350% additional damage to demons. I have passive and magic skillers here, not Javelin, although I do have 2 Javelins here with 12% faster hit recovery on them that I couldn't turn down. But for the most part, I go with the passives, because getting more points in my passives means more critical strike. It means more attack rating. It means more dodge, avoid, and evade, which means I'm tankier. And it also means more inner sight and slow missile, which are also definitely useful as well. And speaking of which, okay, I already have those set up then, so let's just go ahead and do this. Z and X. There we go. Now, skill-wise, what do we go for? Well, we go for javelins. So we get 1 point in jab. We throw 20 points in impale, and this is one of our main damaging abilities for hitting those nasty monsters. It's a guaranteed hit, and it does a lot of damage per strike. It does have a chance of losing durability, and it slows enemies down, but because our weapon is indestructible, it doesn't matter. Also, Fend, this is our main ability. This one is level 20 as well, and with our plus the skills, we're at 28. It does 340% enhanced damage, and it hits everything around us in a circle. These two skills could not be more different. This is a single target attack that only hits one monster, and this is an attack that literally hits everything around us in a circle. It's like massive. For passive and magic, we put 1 point in Inner Sight, 1 point in Slow Missile, 1 point in Decoy, and we end up putting 5 points into Valkyrie, which should be level 17, but I think because I took off some plus to skill equipment here or there, it's not level 17. Usually what we want to do is get that to level 17 bare minimum, but unfortunately mine is only level 13, which could be because I stole some of her equipment. I don't know. That's probably what happened. I also put 9 points in dodge and 9 points in avoid, but I only put 1 point in evade. And the reason why I do this is because most of the time I am standing still. When I am attacking, when I am dishing out my damage, when I'm fending, I'm standing still. And so I wanted the bulk of the percentages of my avoidances to be when I was standing still, not when I was running away. I also put 13 points into Critical Strike to get it up to a decent level without having to put too many points into it, because it does start to get into diminishing returns quite quickly. And this actually is pretty sweet because we get basically double damage on all of our attacks in combination with the additional 30% deadly strike that we have normally from our two items, which is the G-Face and the Gore Riders. And combined together, it's not necessarily additive, so we don't just get 60 plus 30, but they do actually both roll, and the chances of us not hitting a deadly strike is pretty low. Also, we max out Penetrate because we really need the attack rating. We need as much attack rating as we can get, and 305% additional attack rating here is extremely important. We do have, 8,695 attack rating for our Fend. Notice, however, our defense is extremely low. No points in bow and crossbow. For our Mercenary, we did end up choosing Crescent Moon for the static field. We got Lawbringer for the Decrepify, Duress so that he has the resistances, open wounds, and a crushing blow, and then Crown of Thieves, which could be replaced with Bulwark now, which wasn't available when I originally made this character. And let me take you out real quick and show you how kind of ridiculous this stupid character is. This is Fend. And everything's dead. Let's go to the next area. And Fend. And Fend. And Fend. As you can see, she attacks so fast, half the time you can't even see her perform the attack. There's like barely any frames. And this is Impale. Her physical damage is absolutely insane. I'm sitting at a 17k Impale and a 10k Fend. Now, from what I understand, you cannot actually Deadly Strike or Critical Strike with Impale, which means that 17k is the top for that. However, Fend does Critical Strike, and it does Deadly Strike, which means that I'm hitting for about 20k Fend damage, which is pretty insane. The really crazy thing about this character is that even when you're absolutely and utterly surrounded by the largest group of monsters that you could ever think of, when you tap your Fend ability, she literally hits everything. A lot of people are used to Zeal or Fury or Frenzy or various other abilities like that. Fend is a very odd ability. Fend doesn't care how many monsters are around you. It will hit every single monster around you one time. Exactly one time. No more, no less. If there's one monster, then it hits one monster one time. If there's 10 monsters, then they hit 10 monsters one time. And when you're dishing out this massive amount of damage, like 12k for instance, per strike, which actually ends up being like 24k per strike, and you have a bunch of monsters around you in a circle like this, and you tap your button, it leads to a whole lot of dead monsters really fast. It's actually quite surprising to me how ridiculously powerful this particular character is. And the only thing that she's really held back by, in my opinion, is maybe specifically her attack rating. But as you can see right now, she's under the effect of the combat shrine, so she has 82,665 attack rating. That's because of the combat shrine, not her actual real attack rating. However, even though her Fend has an attack rating, her Impale doesn't. So no matter what, if you walk up to a monster and you impale it with the Impale ability, you are going to dish out just a massive amount of damage for each strike that you hit them with that Impale. And if you add in things like Decrepify and Amplify damage, obviously you're going to be dishing out even more damage when the monster is under those effects. I had a lot of fun building this character when I played it. Can't remember which season it was. It might have been season 3 or season 2. And since then, I've put some thought into it, and it probably could be improved slightly. The main thing that you have to worry about with this character is hitting the high breakpoints with Fend. You definitely want to hit the high IAS breakpoints with Fend, because otherwise you're going to be attacking forever. You may have noticed that with the high IAS breakpoints with Fend, it's almost like she's not even attacking multiple times. It's like you press the button and then she makes like a weird little animation like she kind of did something, and then all of a sudden everything falls down. It's like ashes to ashes and they all fall down. And it's not even a joke. Like, they literally just all fall down. Let's go to another area like Ancient's Way real quick. And let me see if I can get surrounded by monsters here as well. Oh, hello, Spike Fiends. Impale, 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 impale. Dead. Had to be Spike Fiends. Oh, here we go. Here's some monsters. So, Fend. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. I swear it takes like the same amount of time to attack like 10 monsters that it does to attack one with Fend. I don't know what it is with Fend or the way that it works, but it's like if you're attacking one monster, it's like 2. And if you're attacking 2, it's like 2. And you're attacking 3, it's like you're attacking 4, it's like it doesn't even, there's no like difference in the time that it takes to attack one monster or freaking like 100. So getting yourself surrounded is honestly better, because you dish out more damage quicker with Fend when you are surrounded. Because obviously the more monsters that are there, the more attacks that you can get off. It's such a fun little character to play. And with the addition of the Breath of the Dying, it just goes through the freaking roof in damage. Obviously, like I said, you could even throw in the Laying of Hands here with the 350% demon damage, which would give you even more off-weapon ED toward demons specifically, and make it so that you can kill bosses at an even faster rate. With Impale, you never have to worry about missing the boss, and the 67% slows enemy works surprisingly well on them. Using things like Inner Sight can also have a pretty nice effect on your 2-hit rate. So if you always make sure you tap your Inner Sight before you go in, you can do pretty well. You can also stack Inner Sight and the slow missiles together on a target. They actually do stack on the targets. So if you run into a pack of monsters and the first thing you do is throw your Inner Sight and your slow missiles up, you will actually get a pretty nice damage reduction on the monster, as well as defense reduction, and honestly, it's pretty handy. And bam, super dead. As far as characters go, this character is just extremely powerful because of the fact that she has a really nice AoE attack like Fend, which can just demolish huge groups of monsters, and because she also has an extremely powerful single target hit such as Impale, she is extremely good at both single target and large group fights. She has absolutely no issue dealing with the big groups, and she has no issue dealing with the small groups. And honestly, when it comes to bosses, because Impale is an always hit ability, it's actually pretty easy to kill most bosses in this game. On top of this, if you were to throw in, say, a life tap item, like say vampire, some Dracula's grasps or something like that, you can effectively do Ubers. I have actually tested this character on Ubers, and it was possible to kill Ubers with Impale. The only thing that I will tell you about Impale is that it is very slow by comparison to some other abilities, like say Smite, and you may have to rely on Fend to make the Dracula's proc. And so what I would do is I would Impale a couple times on the boss, and then I would fend everything nearby, which of course would kill everything, all the little minions and whatnot, and it was very likely to spawn a life tap proc. And then I would just continue fending the boss until the boss was dead. I think there is a video up somewhere of this character killing Ubers, although it's been a while. All in all, though, I had so much fun building a melee Amazon, a physical melee Amazon. I think it is one of the cooler builds on the Amazon as far as melee builds go. I mean, yeah, you can do the charge bolt Zon, and that one is very powerful too, and that might actually be the next video that we talk about, is the charge bolt Zon, but or the charged strike Zon. However, this is one that specifically goes with a really small subset of abilities. Also, you don't necessarily have to max out Impale. I found out this the hard way through Impale, is that Impale doesn't really need to be maxed out. You could sacrifice some points here on Impale and maybe move more toward maybe a stronger Valkyrie, maybe more points in Critical Strike, or you could even put more points into your evasions, or maybe you could stack more points into Inner Sight so you have a higher negative defense on your Inner Sight, and so forth and so on. There's a lot of different things you could potentially do with those points instead of stack them directly into Impale, but you definitely want to stack points into Fend. I 100% recommend capping out Fend, because the attack rating and the damage bonus on Fend is amazing, and the Fend skill is honestly just absolutely amazing. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me on these videos, even when we're just talking about the lowly physical Amazon. And as always, keep watching.